Good morning again. This is our last day of special right triangles. I'm going to review once again. Next week we'll start some more trig stuff, some new things. I just want to review a couple of these, make sure that we're understanding. On number 1, when it says find the exact ratio, that means, or find the ratio, that is exact. That is not putting it in your calculator. If, when you're finding the missing side, you get a square root, you should start simplifying it, but do not turn them into decimals, okay? So on this one, we need that to be able to find some of our trig values. We can do a couple without it. We have our opposite hypotenuse, so we know our sine is 15 over 17, and then our cosecant is 17 over 15. But we can't do cosine or tangent without this piece. So we have x squared plus 15 squared equals 17 squared. X squared equals 289 minus 225. That was a 9. So x squared equals 64. So x equals 8. And again, we don't need plus or minus because it's a triangle and it's a specific value. That's an 8, not a theta. Okay, so our sine was 15 over 17. Our cosine is adjacent over hypotenuse, so that one is 8 over 17, and then secant is 17 over 8, and then tangent is opposite adjacent, so this was 15 over 8, and cotangent is adjacent over opposite, so that's 8 over 15. This next one is a calculator. It says round to nearest hundredth, so this one you can put in your calculator. We need to use our SOHCAHTOA, sine opposite hypotenuse, cosine adjacent hypotenuse, tangent opposite adjacent, to figure out how we're going to find the missing piece. So here we have the opposite and adjacent side, that's a tangent. So tangent of 31 degrees equals x over 16. Multiply by 16 on both sides, and x equals, in your calculator, always put the 16 first, because if you forget to put a parenthesis around the 31, it'll take tangent of 31 times 16 instead of 16 times the answer of tangent of 31. So when we put that in our calculator, we get 8.241. And since it's a 1, we just leave it as 8.24. Number 3 says round to the nearest degree. When we tell you to round, that means you get to use a calculator. Down here on 7 and 8, when it says simplify all radicals, that means leave it as a radical, but simplify what's underneath. Don't leave like square root of 24, but don't put it in the calculator either. Simplify it. Okay, to number 3, we have the opposite hypotenuse, that's sine. So we have sine x equals 16 over 26. Don't bother reducing it. I know you can reduce 16 and 26 by 2, but we're going to plug it in the calculator anyway, so leave it. X equals sine inverse of 16 over 26. Make sure that you're in the degree mode in your calculator. If you're doing other stuff in science and you're in radians, make sure each time you come in, you hit degrees. So when we do this one in our calculator, we get 37.98. And since it says round to the nearest degree, we can do 38 degrees. And our last one over here, where it says round to the nearest hundredth, we want to find our hypotenuse. We're given our adjacent side. So this is a cosine of 49 degrees equals 28 over x. Remember, if your variable ends up on bottom, that if we think of this as over 1, we would have to cross multiply. We'd get x cosine of 49 degrees equals 28. And then we'd have to divide by cosine of 49 on both sides. So you could go the faster route and just change the x and the cosine of 49 at the very beginning to get to x equals 28 over cosine of 49 degrees. And when we do that, in our calculator, we get 42.679, and it said round to the nearest hundredth on this one. So we need 2 decimals, so it's 42.68 for that side. All right, so 7 and 8, say simplify the radicals. Remember, these are our formulas. If we have a 45 degree here and this is 90, that leaves 45 up here. These sides have to be the same. And then this side is x square roots of 2. So since the side that we want to have our square root does not, we have to set 16 equal to x square root of 2 and solve for our x. There is a pattern. You do enough of these, you will figure it out, but I am not going to give it to you. You need to find that pattern. Okay, so multiply by square root of 2 over square root of 2 to simplify the bottom. 16 square roots of 2 over the square root of 4 gives me 8. Oops, not yet. Gives me 16 square root of 2 over 2, and then I can reduce that, and I get 8 square root of 2 equals x. So both of my sides of my triangle would be 8 square roots of 2. Okay. And then this one over here. This side does have what we think it should have from our formula, which means that there's no work necessary. X equals 8. The next one, our hypotenuse, let's write our formula down so we have that. So just to change things up, I'll try to triangle this direction. So if I put 30 degrees down here, 60 degrees up here, across my 30 is x, my hypotenuse is 2x, and my across from my 60 is x square roots of 3. So on number 9, we know our hypotenuse is 22, so we could set 22 equal to x, 2x, divide by 2, and so then the side across from my 30 is half of that value, or 11. And then going by our formula down at the bottom, then y should be 11 square roots of 3. If you don't believe me, you could do a Pythagorean theorem, but that is a really, that's a really big number to have to simplify. So we should go with the formula. And remember, to simplify your radicals, you would not want to leave that 11 underneath. If you did Pythagorean theorem, you'd have to figure that out. Do not put them in the calculator, though. Leave it as a radical. Okay, number 10 is one of those where we're going to have to work backwards, because what is across from our 60-degree angle does not have our square root of 3 like we would like to see it. So we're going to have to solve. So we have 15 equals x square roots of 3. Divide by square root of 3 on both sides. So x equals 15 over the square root of 3. And I'm going to have to multiply by square root of 3 on top and bottom to get rid of that. X equals 15 square roots of 3 over 3. And x equals 5 square roots of 3. So my 30-degree side is 5 square roots of 3. My hypotenuse is double. So I have to take 2 times my x, or 5 square roots of 3. So my y is going to give me 10 square roots of 3. Remember, you can only distribute the 2 to the 5. You can't distribute 2 to the 3 because the 3 is underneath the square root. So there we go. Hopefully that helps. I have one more session for you guys tomorrow at 11 a.m., period 1 or period 3. If you want to log on and ask me any final questions about this material, please feel free to see me in Google Meets. Bye.